Summertime scouting has been the #1 reason I've been able to kill multiple early season public land bucks. And I think it's one of the greatest factors to success on public land. I think it's one of the best times to kill a big mature buck when he's on a summer pattern. Today we're gonna do a little bit of a throwback on a trip we took a couple years ago, doing a deep dive into summertime scouting, some tips and tricks and certain things that I do in the summertime, specific tactics that I do when I go, how to figure out when a red moon is to make your time the most effective. And even though it's hot and the bugs are out and you really don't have time, a little bit of time spent in the summer saves you a lot of time and efficiency and gives you a lot of success when it comes to early season and when deer season actually opens. So let's take a dive into it, see what we can find. We are headed to the heart of the Midwest, from Missouri to Illinois to Wisconsin and then over to Minnesota, kind of following the Mississippi River up. And we're gonna find public land areas, and these are going to be some of the counties and areas and parts of states that produce some of the biggest whitetail in the world. The plan is to try and get to these states early before the pressure of the rut, when most people travel to these states, and try to get these bucks maybe on a summer pattern or even like a pre-rut pattern before they get pushed out of the public land properties. Kind of a big factor with that. We're on the road now. It's the middle of a red moon phase, so the bucks should be up and moving in the evenings, and we're pretty excited. We've been working hard all summer and it's been over 100 degrees for several days, but we're ready to get to work on some big bucks and see what we can find. We're gonna e-scout, and then we are going to put our boots on the ground, see what we can find. I just wanted to kind of go over my way of e-scouting. So I use several different apps, a lot of different ways. Having an iPad is pretty helpful too, just to kind of zoom stuff in and see everything. I use Onyx, Google Earth, Google Maps, and then one that I've never heard of anybody using, but I use pretty frequently, is if you have an iPhone, the Find My iPhone app, if you click on satellite on that, it takes away all the roads, property lines, state lines, and as you zoom in and out, it changes the map features from early season to mid-season to late season, and kind of gives you geographically what you're looking for when you're like doing macro e-scouting, like looking for a general area of, you know, maybe cropland or deep woods or a mix of all. I use all those apps and all those features to really pinpoint what a property looks like, things that might stick out to my eye on one app and then not the other, and then I switch over to another app and I was like, man, I would have never found that there on that app because of the season that it's in, or maybe it's covered up by shades of public land access or property lines or roads or whatever. So that's a good way to really find good areas to find big bucks. You know, stuff that's overlooked is what we look for as public land hunters, and that's a great way to find them. I'm telling you, this red moon, if you don't know what the red moon is, please do some research on it, because it is unbelievably accurate, especially early season into like opening of season, summertime, all that stuff. We want to talk about knowing exactly when mature bucks are going to move. This app will tell you exact times, and I've been testing it for 3 years and it is just absolutely insane. Has to do with moon position and moon phase, which sounds like an absolute scam, but these deer really do move on those moon times, which is why we're taking this trip the day we are. I mean, it's Wednesday and we've got work to do, but we're gonna hit the middle of this red moon phase, so we took off work to come out here and scout for deer. And we're just driving along, and it's a good hour and a half before dark, and these bucks are just on their feet, already to their food source on the field edge. It's exactly what the app called for, and it just has to do with an overhead underfoot moon, different phases and stuff like that. So if you haven't looked into that, check it out. It's legit. You want to improve your game, it's one of the best pockets in your tool you can ever add to e-scouting, to scheduling. You have limited time, you hunt public land, anything, it's gonna help. Give it a look. I've been nothing but impressed, and every time a red moon phase comes along in the summertime, I get really excited because I know big bucks are moving and I know I can go find them for season to come. So check it out. If I have an area that sparks my interest, first thing I do is look it up online, look up the area, find the regulations, and you'll find a lot of times there's different laws and regulations if it's not in your state that you're familiar with. Like in Illinois, most of the areas you have to sign in and out whenever you come in and hunt the property, whether you harvested and how many deer you saw, and that helps the conservation manage different areas and stuff. But look up the rules. A lot of these places I've found absolute gold mines of properties, and come to find out it's a special draw area, of course. And so maybe I'll write that down and start applying for that special draw or building up points for that area. And you know, you would think that's just an out west thing for elk and mule deer and sheep and all that, but honestly, there's some stellar properties in the Midwest that you have to apply for a special hunt, and maybe you get drawn every year for it and it's an awesome place, or maybe you have to build up points several times. You know, when you're e-scouting, that's kind of the first step I do. If I do find a property that you can hunt during regular season without, you know, special points or applying and stuff, first thing I do is I turn my tracker on one of those apps and I drive around that property, and I drive every drivable road that I can, and then I save that track around the property and through the property. So not just on the public, but around the public too. And whenever I turn that tracker on, what it allows me to do is I can pinpoint the areas that I can see with my vehicle. And you'd be surprised when you get on some of the outside roads of some of these public land pieces, some of the fields and pinch points and stuff that you can see and you can scout in the summer just from your vehicle. And then it also allows me to figure out which fields I cannot see, which I tend to favor, just because, you know, the more hidden a deer can get, the more likely you're going to find a big mature buck that's staying out of sight of most public land hunters and has experience with, you know, trying to stay hidden. I mean, hiding is their game and they're really good at it. It also allows me to, you know, find the fields and find the areas that are probably going to be the best hunting on the property, and how I'm going to access those from different points of the road. So put my boots on the ground the most efficient way possible, and I'm not walking a mile to an area that I might be able to see from just an outside road right there. You know, scouting way more efficient, and you can cover a lot more ground and find a lot, you know, more access and big bucks that way by just using these apps and using your vehicle and using access as, you know, the number one factor before I ever get out of my truck or ever get off my phone. You know, e-scouting and stuff. The more time you can save and the more property you can cover and the more pressure from other hunters that you can avoid, the more big bucks you're going to find and the more successful you're going to be on public land. That's the start of my e-scouting, and we'll kind of walk you through our process as we keep going through these properties in different states and what I'm looking for, what looks good to me, so on and so forth. So stick with us.